You can kill me, but you will never destroy me. It takes strength to resist the dark side.
Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one.
Are you kidding? Why the hell should I wait for you?
I know what it's like to try and rebuild a life. I had a bad day too, once.
If you're having nightmares, then welcome to the club. My name's Subaru Natsuki, and I am the Knight of Amelia.
Right now, all I can give you is just death.
It wasn't for you in particular.
You fought 100 men because it's not in your nature to run away.
If you are feeling disheartened, that you are somehow not enough, set your heart ablaze.
And of course, right as the stream starts, my light falls over. Oh, lovely, lovely. Welcome to the first stream of the year. And my first anime talk of the year. And, well, there is a decent bit to cover. Mostly a lot of dumb shit. Someone attempted to, quote-unquote, rewrite and make a better ending for Jujutsu Kaisen, and it got them memed. I mean, there's some new stuff. Okay, that's probably why that's falling over. Let's fix that. There is some ridiculous stuff to cover. I mean, people marrying cardboard, voice actors getting married that spawned a wave of Fujoshi artwork that flooded my entire Twitter. Elves, because I like elves. The aforementioned Jujutsu Kaisen rewrite. And some other small news. But before any of that, we got to talk about some anime stuff. And let me bring that up, actually. So, this is all we have left that's carrying over from the last season. And I don't think I've watched any of the stuff that is carried over from the last season. I don't think they had any episodes out. Well, actually, Blue Box has had an episode out, and Orb actually did. And I watched Orb, so we can talk a little bit about those. But I didn't get to all like the new stuff that has come out, at least all the first episodes. I can probably close that tab out. So there is the Neat Kunoichi and some other random like slice of life ones. One action series I didn't check out. But I did get to a lot of like the bullshit isekais and fantasies and some of the romance and stuff, and yeah. So let's start by talking about where we're at with Orb this week. I don't know if I specifically covered it because the end of the year came and I decided I was going to slack off and pick up the pace, or pick up all the work at the beginning of the year. But with Orb, we are at the point where the Badeni and Oxy have been executed for heresy. And or blasphemy, actually. And the torch has now been passed to a couple of other people. Novak is now kind of involved with it, indirectly, because his daughter was involved with the research that Badeni was conducting. And oh, sorry. Yeah, there's going to be some spoilers and stuff talking about these. But this latest episode, again, every time I feel like I'll actually try to keep the spoilers to a minimum if that's the case. As far as Orb goes, every time I feel like I might want to drop it, it always gets better. Like, it's a good historical drama, and I do want to put it in above Trillion Game as far as writing and characters go, because there's always something interesting going on with it. And the way they proceeded in the last episode with some of the twists and like the convictions that people have shown for it has been good. It's something that I've enjoyed. But that's, out of all of these, the only thing I can really comment on. Well, I guess technically I could comment on Shangri-La Frontier, considering it had its episode where they actually do the fighting. Animation was good. I like the way they wrapped it all up, and it's kind of like transitioning over into the second cour here. Hopefully tomorrow we actually get like another episode, make it see where this all goes. But when Shangri-La Frontier wants to do action, it does action very, very well. Especially in that last episode, they had moments where like Sun Raku needed to draw aggro and attention from the boss that they're fighting. So he goes all out, and they really did that sequence well. They made it feel like it was an actual action sequence. Fuck you. Thank you, Pilgrim, for pointing that out, because I've been having trouble with this. Audio. Yes. Do I sound better now? Hopefully I sound better, because it was using my webcam mic. For some reason, my webcam has been deciding it wants to be the primary mic this whole time. Okay, I need to make sure I double check that before I go into any of this stuff, because holy crap, that has been a problem. For those who are completely unaware, and we'll talk a little bit about this later, I've been making like a huge video on in the background, and while I recorded it and found out that part of it was recorded through my webcam mic for some reason, so I had to re-record it. And now the raw footage was over an hour long. Now, when I cut that down, it'll probably be 50 minutes, but still, that's a lot of talking. It was a 13-page script that I had to make. All right. Fortunately, I've moved on from clipping this stuff from my streams. I'm actually doing like proper videos on all the anime recaps, which I'm going to get back to on Monday now that we've started a new anime season. But yeah, Shangri-La Frontier's latest episode was really, really good. As far as action and writing goes, I really enjoyed it. Now we are going to go into some of the new stuff that we are starting winter anime with. And let's start off with the big one, Solo Leveling. I really liked Solo Leveling. Not as much as Shangri-La Frontier, but it gave me exactly what I wanted out of it. I've never been a huge fan of the story of this series. I've been reading it, and kind of have been prompted to like drop reading it since the anime has come out, because watching the fights and the fight animation for the actual like episodes is so much more satisfying. And it starts out its second season very, very strong. We get Jinwoo doing we get Jinwoo getting trapped inside one of the dungeons as the gate seals behind him and his party, and we see that everyone underestimates him because everyone still thinks he's an E ranker. And he gets stuck with all the weak people because the party leader thinks that by ditching them all, they have a better chance of defeating the dungeon and unsealing the gate. So their crews go separate ways, and Jinwoo quickly proves that nothing there is going to be a problem for him to take care of. And we get some good fights out of it. It kind of establishes the thing with the older brother of the guy he killed in season 1. The guy named Dong Suk, by the way. I kid you not, that's his name, Dong Suk. Oh, I gotta love them Korean names. But the older brother of the guy has showed up. He's like this really, really powerful hunter who went to America because they offered a better deal than Korea. And he wants to kill Jinwoo for supposedly murdering his brother, even though it was technically entirely in self-defense. Another exception detected.
But it's a good show. It's worth watching for the action. That's why I'm putting it in very good. I think I like Shangri-La Frontier's story and characters more. That's one of the big issues with Solo Leveling, because I feel like the characters are flat. It's just kind of a shallow power fantasy. Its story is serviceable, okay? It isn't poorly written. It's just not the best written. And we'll talk about some poorly written stuff here in a bit, because my God, there is some awful shit that I have watched this week. No spoilers, but it's Behe Neko. It is definitely Behe Neko and some of these other isekais. So we'll just start working down the list. I'm getting married to the girl in class that I hate. I'm actually putting this one in interesting. And I'm putting it right here. Now, I will say that first episode does not do this series very much justice, but I enjoy the dynamic between the two main characters. The way they're constantly fighting and everything, and she behaves like a total tsundere, and constantly like overthinks everything that's fucking happening. You're entitled to your opinion, Marcel, but you're wrong. I enjoyed this romance anime because it's kind of like dumb fluff that I like to watch between like majorly stressful series to just kind of unwind, or majorly tense series to just kind of unwind. But it's by no means in that first episode well written. It's very rushed. Everything feels pretty forced and generally could have been much better. But I am partial to this because I found it when it was still web manga, and I thought it was an interesting idea if they were to like give it some proper writing, but it seems like they haven't really done much with it, and it's just kind of like immediate love triangle, a lot of forced actions to get to the bulk of it, which is just the two main characters arguing with each other as they slowly fall in love. So this one is only placed there by entirely biased reasons. I will admit it. It's only there entirely by bias because technically, you know what? I'll be fair with it. I will be fair with it and put it just in the okay category. I think it honestly probably deserves to be there. Headhunted to Another World, from Salaryman to Big Four. Now, the premise of this one is basically this guy is a career like I don't even know what you would call it. A career. He's made a career of getting transferred to like non-functioning parts of the company overseas and fixing them up, only to yeah, look, I'll get to that when we actually come across the anime. But for now, it's not specifically that. I just have certain tastes when it comes to that. If you like it, good for you. I don't. So Headhunted to Another World. Honestly, this one's in danger of being dropped already because if I'm being entirely honest, it kind of sucked. Like I said, the premise is this guy has made his entire career of putting in the work to fix up non-functioning parts of the company he works for, only to get transferred on to the next. And it's just a brutal life of work, and it wears him down up until he gets hit by a moped and isekai'd into another world. And from there, it's just kind of this whole spiel about how he's like the logistics guy, and he's gonna like manage all of the manage all of the Demon King's army and all that. And you get a tsundere dragon girl, okay, cool, but there's nothing terribly creative or interesting about it. And if by episode 3 we don't get some like dramatic reversal in that fact, it's going into the not for me category. So this one is Anaku Detective, or Anaku MD, Doctor Detective. And now, if anyone knows me, you know that I like mystery fiction. I like that. I liked Shoshimin and Hyoka. I've liked stuff like this. Inspector was another one. So the premise of this one is you have this you have a doctor who is basically someone who specializes in solving diagnosis problems at her hospital. I think the department she's the head of is called investigative pathology. And she also works with the police to help them solve murders and other cases that happen to cross paths with her work. And these first 2 episodes are like this whole like Yakuza murder mystery of like this guy who is taken to their hospital. His leg has been bitten off in one bite, has been bitten off, and his blood has turned blue. So there's this whole mystery of solving how he was killed and all that. And it was good, honestly. It surprised me. I thought it was just going to be kind of okay, but I really, really enjoyed it. I liked the main character, as headstrong and blunt as she can be. She's got some weird facets to her personality, like the obsession with Jurassic Park and her fear of her older sister. And they also made it so that the assistant character, the guy who basically follows her around, who is like one of the nurses at her hospital, is also decently useful because he's effectively the muscle. Like towards the end of these 2 episodes, something gets violent and he actually steps in and does some proper fighting. So that's a cool element of it. But again, we're at cute angry tsundere girl. That's a genius. It's not weird. She just has a particular obsession with it. But yeah, this one was actually like caught me off guard. I checked it out because it was mystery and ended up really, really liking it. Okay. And now we're going to talk about Bogus Skill Fruit Master. I became able to eat unlimited skill fruits. And you want to talk about Japan's like mass production problem when it comes to anime, particularly with isekais, fantasies, and romances. This is just about the epitome of it. Now, I've said in the past that any trope, regardless of how much it is used, if worked into a series in a creative way, functions well. This doesn't do any of that. Look, Jurassic Park, those movies are fun. That was like my childhood, okay? Like me and my cousins, that's all we would watch. So I'm not knocking Jurassic Park. I'm just saying she has a strange obsession with making sure that all of her assistants have watched Jurassic Park in those first 2 episodes. But Fruit Master. This thing is the most generically tropey fantasy anime that I have come across. It's a story that I've seen done 1,000 times. Oh, my childhood friend is or we both want to be adventurers, soldiers, warriors, whatever. But she got all the power and I got stuck with some bullshit. And then all of a sudden, a few months later, or a few years later, or a decade later, I get this awesome power that allows me to Eiichiro Oda wants his idea back. Yeah, effectively. That's what I'm saying is there's nothing creative about this. It is the story of like Kaiju number 8, Wistoria, both series that did this exactly. I think technically you could lump a couple of Cuckoos in here because the dude is chasing after this chick who is just great at everything and he's constantly trying to beat her so that he can ask her out. Don't watch that series. Honestly, it's not worth it. But yeah, this guy basically gets like a shit skill that allows him to acquire all of the OP skills. So he accidentally eats another skill fruit that gives him the sword god ability, which basically means that when the moment he touches a weapon, he becomes OP. Okay, Reinhardt Van Estrella. Speaking of which, the fact that that guy now scales as high as Saitama is ridiculous. Dude wants to beat a woman so she'll go out with him. He wants to score higher than her on the exams so that he can ask her out. So yeah, this is I honestly will not recommend Fruit Master. It is the most generic slop fantasy you can probably find out there. It's not a great showing. Now we'll talk about the ecchi series, Bahen Neko, or in more proper terms, what was the title again? Reincarnated as a behemoth, I became an elf girl's pet cat, or something like that. Effectively, this knight gets reincarnated as a pet cat in this fantasy world. He's born in a dungeon as this like powerful monster that can absorb skills from or absorb abilities from other creatures by eating them. But he looks like a cat. So as he's crawling around in the dungeon, this elf girl finds him and takes him in because she thinks he's just a little cat. Unbeknownst to her, he's ridiculously powerful. And look, if ecchi is your thing, fine, by all means, enjoy it. But to me, when it comes to ecchi or just risque material or fan service or whatever, if your series specifically exists to survive on fan service and risque content, I think it is inherently bad. And now let me talk about some of the writing for the series as to why I came to that conclusion. Because episode 2 came out. And when I watched it, it proved that it was literally just there to feed into the fan service part of it. Which, look, I don't mind, but don't justify it with shit-ass writing. So what happens here is Elf Girl has 2 swords, and she has trouble wielding them because they're too heavy. So she keeps going back to this blacksmith and saying, hey, can you reforge these even lighter for me? Because they're just not for me. And at that point, I literally was like, okay, why not just use like 2 knives then if the swords are too heavy? And the blacksmith is like, I'll see what I can do. And let's go to the dungeon so I can see you fight. And then I'll be able to maybe assess what I can do. So they go into the dungeon. She starts fighting these phallic-looking tentacle monsters called ropers. I'll talk about that later. And I didn't say fan service was bad. I said if it solely exists for fan service, it's badly written. But effectively, the blacksmith comes to the conclusion of, hey, you know what? After seeing you wield your swords, I know how I can make them lighter. I can give you knives. As if you needed to... This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about, because it's insultingly dumb writing. Like, dumb is one thing, okay? But this is insultingly dumb. And I get it, this series really only exists to be risque. If that's your thing, fine, but I'd argue that makes it a bad series. I'm just not going to watch it, especially after the cat acquired the ability that allows it to crossbreed with any species, because it ate one of the phallic-looking tentacle monsters that spews white goo all over the place. Look, when it comes to... I've said this quite a bit on live streams and in videos. When it comes to fan service and stuff, I don't inherently mind it. Okay, some of that stuff is fun. It's funny, and it can serve a purpose in the story. Take Jobless Reincarnation, for instance, where the ecchi is kind of part of the whole writing of the series. I don't mind it there. But When it comes to this, it just, I don't know. It sucked. It didn't deliver. It was like when Plus Sized Elf came out. And in like the first episode, she is so obese, her shirt explodes and her tits hang out. That wasn't funny to me. That wasn't entertaining, and I don't even think it was really all that great fan service. I didn't care at all for either of those series. That's my big problem with ecchi in general. I don't think it's like, oh, you shouldn't watch it. You're a degenerate if you check these things out. How dare you? I'm not going to pearl clutch over it. Your tastes are your tastes. You can enjoy what you want. But if you're asking my opinion on it, I think it sucks, and these are the reasons why. Ecchi in and of itself doesn't have to suck. It's just generally it's more focused on the risque than the actual story. And when it comes to fiction and entertainment, I enjoy story and characters far more than I do risque. My Dress Up Darling is another one that you could technically consider risque. There are actually shots in the manga where Marin Kitagawa has her tits hanging out. There's specifically one where she thinks Gojo wants to sleep with her, and she's like picking out underwear and everything. And it's kind of like a random like one-off thing, but most of the anime is pretty lewd, quote unquote. I don't mind that stuff because, well, I actually enjoy the writing and the characters for it. When it comes to a lot of ecchi series, I'm generally not a fan of them. Although ecchi in and of itself isn't a turnoff for me. Nudity, risque content, fan service. I'm not the type of person to pearl clutch over that. Not anymore, anyway. I don't need to pretend like I'm some good boy anymore. I know what I am. Okay. So that's that section of this little discussion out of the way. And we have one left. I fell in love with a girl from Okinawa. I just wish I could understand what she's saying. Now, I actually did like this one too. I don't want to put it in very good. I want to put it in interesting. And it's because, again, my sense of humor is like wordplay and dumb jokes like that. And this is a whole thing about like language barriers and misunderstandings that is like right up my alley. I would rate it as a good fluff series. Not like the best written thing out there, but if you're looking for something that's just kind of like goofy and dumb, it's right up that alley. Effectively, the premise is you have a guy from Tokyo who moves to the island of Okinawa. And if you're unfamiliar with Japanese culture, the language difference between Tokyo and Okinawa is massive, to the point where they're almost speaking a completely different language. So when the guy gets there, this chick that he's in love with pretty much only speaks like in the local dialect, and he doesn't understand a word she says. And they have a friend who translates for them, and it's a love triangle. The chick who only speaks in the local dialect doesn't seem to have any inclination whatsoever. The translator chick has a crush on the main character, and the main character has a crush on the chick he doesn't understand. So yeah, great romantic tension, but it's kind of written in the 4-comma way, where like it's a series of like smaller gags and stuff that are compiled into a like running manga. So it isn't terrible, but it's definitely more focused on like the humor of the oddity of Okinawa, rather than any specific like major love story. I enjoy it. I wonder if that is an American thing, though. As far as I have heard over the years, are much more prude than many of the other countries. I don't want to insult you guys, though. that come. I hope that comes across. No, I get it. It actually is kind of an American thing. And that's one of my problems with like just the way America treats foreign media in general. Or the way America treats the world in general. I have a really huge problem with the way my countrymen behave abroad because sometimes they're just absolute dicks. And you hear stories of like people going over to Japan and like harassing geishas for photos, even though it's considered rude, or like doing stupid shit at shrines and all that. And half the time I'm like, I gotta assume that this is some like American bullshit. Like someone's just like, I don't have to follow the rules. Fuck the rules. No respect for culture. But yeah, it is kind of an American thing because I don't really know how to say it other than both sides of our like social spectrum have their own prudish contingent. On one end, you go super far left, you get people who are like the feminist part of it, who think it's insulting to women to be sexualized all the time. And that's how you get like, that's how you effectively got the anti-woke hyper reactionary faction on the internet now, is because a lot of people saw that the left was pushing for like this desexualizing everything, no fan service, no pretty women, no tits whatsoever. And well, you had the opposite reaction. And as far as the right goes, you get to like the religious factions of it. The people who will pearl clutch over cleavage and get manga like Assassination Classroom banned from schools in Florida because one character happens to show a little bit of cleavage. I was having this conversation through a Twitter DM group with Biggles Mets and Little Chad. You can find that guy over at Ascendant Art. We've talked quite a bit over on Biggles' channel. But we're talking about how some of the shows that we saw on Crunchyroll that we watched last year, like Unwanted Undead Adventure, were marked with the nudity tag. And we're sitting there trying to figure out where in the hell there was nudity in the Unwanted Undead Adventurer. So yes, Marcel, as far as like Americans being prudish, yeah, it's weird. Like I agree and disagree at the same time. Like the vast majority don't really care. It's just we have a lot of really loud people on both sides who aren't more centrist, who think that everything has to conform to our standards. It's like when they censored Sailor Moon in the 90s because it had a, as Razor Fist would say, scissoring subplot. And now everyone's so like hyper reactive to the age of fictional characters as well. Because now that like Nazi and fascist and all that stuff have become like meaningless, the next thing that they resort to is PDF file because everyone likes to protect the kids. Yeah. Honestly, I would have to look into it a whole lot more to get some precise answers, but to an extent, I understand why you would say that America is pretty prudish. And I would agree to some extent because we do have our very, very prudish people, especially when you have people like John Delarose and Melanie Mack going out there and supporting Stellar Blade and saying, look at this, it's fighting against the woke. And the moment they feel like their side is coming back into power, they flip their stance entirely and start calling it porn. Yeah, not exactly an easy issue to talk about, but one I nonetheless do kind of understand. Okay, why can't I? Oh, did I stop sharing this altogether? Okay, that would explain why I can't just transition over to the other tab. So let's move on to the next subject. As long as we're talking about like weird stuff, let's talk about this. Oh, it's not up. Here we go. So, did anyone watch PNG Lock? I mean, Blue Lock last season? I'm not a sports anime fan, so I probably should shut up. But I did see a lot of the fanfare over the bulk of this most recent season not being terribly well animated until like the last 2 episodes, which really just popped off. Sorry, mine completely blanked as I was reading what Rolando was saying. Yeah, we will actually talk about elves and Frieren here in a bit. Because holy crap, there's some dumb stuff there. But a while back, what's her name? Melanie Mac. Don't know how it's written. One time saw her talk awful shit against gay people. Yeah, look, what I've said about Melanie Mac is the only thing she's relevant for is saying the F word on Twitter. And the most recent clip of her basically spamming the F word in a video, or the slur for gay people in a video, was effectively my like, okay, can we stop sharing this around? It's not funny, it's cringe. You don't have anything relevant to say. All you're here for is to grift. You are a clear grifter, Melanie. But yes, I agree. Whether you have your religious beliefs or not, I think using slurs might be a step too far, and just spamming it for clout and relevancy is pretty fucking shit. But yeah, this chick basically married a cardboard cutout of the main character of Blue Lock, Nagi, I think his name is, or Isagi. Oh God, Japan, get your shit together. I mean, your birth rate crisis is already bad, and I mean, this isn't like the first time something like this has happened. People have married like holograms of Hatsune Miku. As far as this goes, Rolando, I still don't think that using a slur to on repeat to try and gain clout on the internet, because that's the only thing you're really known for. I don't think that justifies it. Whether you want to say she does or doesn't like it, she's still just a grifter because she has very clearly swapped stances on the Stellar Blade thing. And is a hypocrite for constantly talking like she's gooning to Lara Croft, and then going on her anti quote unquote porn crusade in recent weeks and months. She seems too pretty to not get a guy. Yeah, right? But to be entirely fair, again, we in America have people who have married themselves and other things. It's just one of those weird situations that I can't understand. Like, well, what's the point in getting married to something that isn't real? And now, oh God, this is the one that's probably going to get Ronnie to clip me. But we're going to talk about another marriage. So this week, my Twitter feed was flooded with artwork by Fujoshi, who got the news that the voice actors for Subaru Natsuki and Rudeus Greyrat were getting married. Now, when it comes to didn't some chick marry a chicken? I don't know about that, but I wouldn't put it past them. Now, when it comes to this, the voice actor for Rudius is actually a woman in Japanese. And this whole thing gets fucking funny because no, it's fine. It's one of those things that's going to get talked about. It doesn't have to specifically be about animated, but I generally try to keep it in the realm of anime. And if we spiral off into something as we go, I'm happy for your favorite ship. Which ship? Are we talking about the Rudius X Subaru one, the Subaru X Puck one, or the Rudius and his father-in-law one? Because as it turns out, the chick who voices Rudius also voices Amelia's cat spirit, Puck. And the guy who voices Subaru voices Rudius's father-in-law, or at least one of his father-in-laws, because he is Roxy's dad. So yeah, my whole feed was flooded with stuff like that, and the cucked Sylphie stuff started coming up again. Although this time, instead of Roxy, God, I blame Fujoshi for all of this. Don't show it. Okay, whatever. But yeah, that was one of the funnier things that happened over this week. No, I won't be showing anything else because I don't have anything else pulled up. Particularly because I didn't want to have to look through everything that showed up in my timeline again. Trust me, some of it was downright cursed. Like, absolutely fucking cursed. So now we're going to talk about something that I actually... Hearing about that, I just want to go back to Behead Neko. Go ahead. Go ahead. Honestly, I don't know what's worse. That, the Fujoshi shit or banging a cat. But I digress. I want to talk about something I actually do like. Elves. If anyone knows the first thing about me, it's that I fucking love elves. Okay? That's just my thing. I recently watched an Archdemon's Dilemma, How to Treat Your Elf Bride. Loved it. Great show. I mean, we won't talk about the number of like Frieren fan art stuff that I've saved to my phone. So does the cat. Oh, man. Man, you're harassing me like Biggles does over Villainess. Anyway. But apparently, because I like elves, that makes me a terrible, awful person. According to this retard. Can we leave the elf shit in 2024? Y'all are aware that the whole elf and streaming shit alludes to that word, right? Elves in anime are always depicted as children having infinite age, making it okay, but really it's just to normalize lolicon. This dude is a cuck for allowing it. I can send you the collection over Discord if you really want me to. Let's just say But yeah. No, it doesn't make him a cuck. This is one of the most insane takes I have ever seen. Because when you compare the number of like petite to flat-chested elves to the number of like fucking massive bazongas elves, it's not even close. Most elves are depicted as having huge tits, which is why I believe elves store mana in the boobs, okay? It's just how it works. You can tell how powerful an elf is by how big her tits are. But this is one of the problems that I've had with the anime community at large is it becomes so hyper reactive to this word right here, the P word, that I don't want to say on YouTube because it can probably get me into some trouble. That like anything that even makes them mildly uncomfortable all of a sudden is associated with that. But people don't understand that term and why it is fucking vile stuff to actually be guilty of, okay? Hint, hint, I have actually done a lot of research into this subject. I can give you some good recommendations if you're looking for elves. The anime community has taken to like slinging this word around for even the most mild of fan service involving any character who's even a second younger than 18 years old. It's ridiculous. And it's even gotten to the point where like characters like Uzaki-chan, and if you've ever seen Uzaki, the only thing that looks like a child about her is her height. The moment you look at anything below the neck, you're like, holy shit, how did you get that big? She's got nice tits, by the way, and they piss off feminists. Just saying. Look, I get it. We all want to protect the kids. And I'm not even going to argue about this last part here, about the lolicon stuff, because the moment you get into that, everyone's got their own unique definition of it, which makes it an absolutely fucked subject to try and talk about. That's why I hate it. Uzaki is a college student. All good. Yes. But again, I think there's a point there with the American hypersensitivity to this stuff, because this word is a very, very specific thing, a very vile specific thing that we should not be throwing out just because we can or just because we feel uncomfortable with something. They are effectively depicted as children having infinite age, making it okay. Look, I want someone, or sorry, actually, someone did go out. I think it was in the Weebs and Waifus Discord. I think it was Tuffety who actually went and looked through all of the elf stuff, and only like 2 of them even came close. Like you can go to stuff like How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. Elf has huge tits. You can go to stuff like what is it? Lodos War? No. Escaflowne. It's Escaflowne that I'm thinking of. Elf has huge tits. You can talk about the Archdemon's Dilemma, the one I mentioned earlier. Elf has huge tits. ReZero. Elf has huge tits. And she got an upgrade in season 3. Oh, God. I mean, you can point to Frieren as a, like, petite elf. But even then, she's never really depicted as childish, just a lazy adult. Like, everyone knows she's ancient. Everyone knows she's an adult. She can take care of herself. Probably Rolando. Oh, but yeah, everything's become so like hyper focused on like like these witch hunts effectively when it comes to the anime community. And it is honestly a huge problem that I have. Well, hold on, I actually forgot one. Technically, you could count Sylphiette because she is a half elf. I apologize. I got to stay hydrated, otherwise my my throat starts to dry out. Always wanted to start Escaflowne, but never got to it. I still haven't watched it, to be entirely honest, and people still harass me about that. It's just I know so many people who have seen it and talk about it that I know a few things about it. Sylphie still got a shape to her. Yeah, as an adult, yes. Yeah. What I'm saying though is that in the early years, I guess you could make an argument for that, but even then, there's never really a moment where she's treated like a sex object. Okay? You can try and make the argument that, oh well, there was that bath scene, but what was the point of that bath scene? Who make a big deal out of nothing are usually doing it to erase their own guilt. Yeah, generally. That's why when I'm guilty, I pretend like I don't give a fuck. Yes, exactly, Rolando. The whole point of that scene was Rudy finds out that she's a girl. And it's never even made something like that you're supposed to get aroused to it. It's literally just this happens and Rudy's in the wrong for doing all these things against her will. But like I said, we go on so many people go on so many witch hunts in the anime community without actually doing any serious delving into the subject or paying attention. Like when the whole Dandadan thing that I covered got blown into some like racial issue where people were talking about how, oh well, you just can't let black people be happy and all of that stuff. No, that wasn't it. You completely missed the context of all of this. And then people also tried to blame Chibi Reviews for it, saying like he's responsible for all of it. No. It's becoming another thing where like the crusade of the day mentality is getting really fucking annoying. Everyone needs some sort of cause to rally behind to make themselves feel important now. And that's what spawned a lot of this mentality of like, oh, well, now we got to take this down. Well, now we got to take this down. This is evil. This is bad. You shouldn't do this. This enables that. Hold on. Take it case by case. We can talk about how some depictions of stuff in fiction aren't good. We can talk about how like we shouldn't go to certain places with stories and all that. But this hyper reactivity to everything is only going to lead to more censorship. And before you realize it, you will be censoring everything and no one's going to be allowed to talk about shit. Make some great looking characters. Yeah, and yeah, that's the other thing about it, right? The traced art part of that whole Dandadan saga. Yeah. I'm assuming at least half of the motivation for this guy to make this post about elves was for clickbait and for the attention. It was effectively rage bait. I'm assuming, though, the other half of it is just this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And he's just now getting into anime. probably someone who doesn't really know much. Probably a minor. Probably someone who's just getting into anime and doesn't know what they're talking about. And that's where those kinds of posts come from. But for the love of God, leave my petite elves alone, okay? 2025, my goal is to find more petite elf women like Freeman, okay? I'm going on an adventure. There's another thing I do want to talk about that I'm really excited about. I mean, it's a bit of news about Makoto Shinkai. You know, I'm familiar with Makoto Shinkai. He's made 2 of my favorite anime movies. He got catfished by an anime elf, and now he's on a vendetta against them. Praise the petite elf. Yes. Yes. Look, I'm just saying I prefer Tatsumaki to Fubuki, okay? Look, big tits are nice, but there becomes a point where the tit is so big that you can't fully appreciate it. And there is no such thing as a bad titty. There is no such thing as a bad titty. You can quote me on that. Anyway, Makoto Shinkai is planning to announce a new anime movie in 2025. If this is real, that's exciting because I've loved a lot of his movies. Every one of them that I've watched, aside from 5 centimeters per second, because 5 centimeters per second was depressing. Your Name I liked. Suzume was good, although I think Your Name is probably the better story. I like it more. So if he does another movie, I will definitely be watching it because his shit always looks fantastic. Stories are good. Yes, Pilgrim. Yes. Something many people seem to forget, IMO, is that all this stuff is made by Japanese people, and Japanese people in general are much more petite than people in the West. So it's only natural that they want to reflect their main audience, which are the Japanese. Yes, that's another thing. I mean, there's so much wrong with the way people interpret fiction or like look at things, and it's one of it's an emotional reaction to something that they think is bad, and they go out and they make a whole crusade about it. I've done it myself in the past. When I first started YouTubing and doing stuff like that, I would fall victim to some of the rage bait and the outrage and all of that, doing the grifting thing to try and grow my channel. Eventually, though, I got to the point where I found it exhausting and pointless, and I wanted to be more authentic with the content I created. I wanted to like seriously consider what I was talking about and actually have something to contribute to the conversation rather than just parroting the same points. And those are the 2 issues that a lot of people are effectively falling victim to, is they're parroting a lot of the same points without actually knowing what they're talking about. And they're having massively emotional reactions to things without any actual evidence or thinking involved. It happens on both sides. How dare I have integrity? Yes, right? How dare you? How dare you? I had some stuff on here that I wanted to talk to Rolo because he was acting like he was going to show up here. But I guess I got to get into the big topic of the night, Jujutsu Kaisen. So for those who don't know, Jujutsu Kaisen had a particularly disappointing ending to its fan base. Now, it wasn't terrible. It's just certain things were not, certain developments were not implemented correctly. Certain characters came back into the fray after being missing for more than half the manga. It just all around was a cluttered mess of an ending. And even Gege Akutami himself, the creator of this series, came out and made a self-deprecating 2-page memo that I can bring up at some point here, talking about how he was disappointed with the way in himself with the way the manga ended up going. Hated the second season. Yeah, I've actually seen that that take a lot. It's definitely one of like the darker, more brutal shonens, but hey. So after all that, a fan basically went and made their own ending with the trying to quote unquote fix Jujutsu Kaisen. Sorry if my punching my mic has caused problems. I tend to do that by accident. So I will try not to read this. Yeah, well, actually, that ends up being one of the main sticking points for the ending. Is the way Nobara is ultimately treated in this story. But effectively, and to talk about this, this wasn't good. So here we can talk about literal ripped pieces of art from the original series. Or fan art, I think it was. Yeah, so that Jujutsu Kaisen fan ending got caught tracing not just from the original manga, but from fan artists and One Punch Man. So looks like this is the trace of the fan art in the manga. This is the trace from One Punch Man, and here we have more stuff that's wrong with it. So we'll go back to this, and there's actually a community note on it now. This is not an official chapter. The linked ending is fan made and contains traced panels and possible AI generated artwork. The contents of this work are not made by the original creator, Gege Akutami, nor approved by him or his co-creators. Now, just to clarify, a fan is making their own ending to a manga, and said fan is ripping off of fan art. Just send Saitama over and let him clean house. Yeah. So it was so bad, people took to memeing on this series with Chainsaw No Man. Making fun of the dialogue and the way it was written. I wish to touch breasts. That is because I'm very horny. Oh, where are some of the other ones? I don't do these things no more, pal. Makima is listening. This is because she can control, or she can listen through controlling vermin and other types of animals. Chainsaw No Man, because Denji is just a sentient chainsaw. The darkness devil killed everyone because he is primal fear, very strong. It's chainsaw time. Best dialogue in the entire series. It was... Sorry, I clicked the wrong button there. I had to do that. It was a ridiculous series of events, and now at some point, I may consider actually like doing a full like reading of this first chapter to see how bad it actually is. Now, from what I understand, this person is now going back and trying to fix some of the problems that it has, but it's not going well for them. People have been memeing the shit out of this, and nobody cares. And you know what? This actually is a good time to bring up Gege Akutami's statement on the ending of where is it? Where do I have this? That's not it. That's not it. Hey, questioners. How you doing? There's the Yuri harem. Is it in a different folder? It's probably in a different folder. Okay, there's Rifujin Namaganote. I guess not. I guess it's just gone. Fuck. Oh, no. I found it. Never mind. I got it. Here we go. Share this tab instead. I'm actually going to make this bigger. The product Jujutsu Kaisen was pissed out for 6.5 years. Nearly 7 if you include the series. Is this the correct? Yeah, the lengthy 2-page self-deprecation afterword of Gege Akutami from the final volume of the Jujutsu Kaisen manga. Okay, yeah, so this is the correct one. This is Gege Akutami talking about his series and how he's disappointed in it and himself. So the product, Jujutsu Kaisen, was pissed out for 6.5 years, nearly 7 if you include the serialization of these special issues. And what I learned was that I really am an idiot. I was, of course, pushing myself to the limits to pull out everything I could from my creations. And after about 3 years of serialization, my already rough personality began to become absent-minded, even though I was complaining that I'm fed up with having things pointed out to me that could be figured out by looking it up on the internet. I still made the mistake on volume 18 with the Sanpin and ended up thinking like Gecko Moria that, well, if something happens, the people around me will figure it out. I've also been writing the openings for 6.5 to 7 years through instincts. But what this means is that the adults around me were just that reliable. I have really greatly troubled all of my editors, Katayama-san, Ikeda-san, and Fukuda-san, the volume manager, Yanagita-san, the designer, Ishiro-san, and my assistants. Given my camera's not off. I just have this pulled up so people can see it better. If you want to talk about the Yuri harem, I could bring up the Yuri harem after this, but I do kind of want to go through this. This is why it kind of seems like insulting for someone to go and try and make a quote unquote fixed ending. Speaking of being a trouble, I believe I put quite a bit of stress every week on the editorial department and everyone at the printers. I really apologize greatly for that. Jujutsu Kaisen began running with my first editor, Yamanaka-san, and we immediately entered an underground forced labor arc. But he periodically communicated with me. Thank you. Thank you, and I am grateful for meeting you. Thank you. The reason I did not talk much in between the volumes was because I had become absent-minded. When first becoming serialized, I took into consideration that Jujutsu Kaisen was being serialized in a major magazine. I had this feeling of trying to do my best to alleviate those who would read Jujutsu Kaisen and feel hurt, and those who would be hurt by those who read Jujutsu Kaisen. The result of that was me telling myself, shut up, I get it. Akutami just wants to be seen as a good person, and hurting myself. So I stopped trying that. To begin with, the very idea was prideful, and I understand now that it was due to me lacking the conviction to put my created work out into the world. This is embarrassing, but even now, I do not fully have that conviction when considering evil intent that doesn't exist. I still want to shout out loudly, but the root cause of it is my immaturity as a mangaka. So I hold it in, or rather, I continue on a condition where all I can do is swallow it down. The good thing about Shonen Jump is that the brand image is built around not the creator, but the created work. And so, by trusting myself to make it so that readers can read my manga without worry, I will take the lesson of these 7 years to heart, and I want to overcome my problems after this. I have books packed that I bought during the serialization, some for study, some just to have around because they might make me smarter. In truth, I do feel they made me smarter just by having them around, even if I don't read them. It's scary. This is the end of Jujutsu Kaisen that I have drawn. To everyone who supported me, to the people who read it all at once when it becomes topical, to those who read it and wanted to see what came after the anime, to the person who just happened to read this final volume. Any reason is fine. I truly thank you. Until we meet again. So yeah, as far as the situation surrounding Jujutsu Kaisen goes, it's kind of depressing once you actually start looking at it. Like, if I don't know whether this is actually Gege's first manga or whatever, but if it is, it's still damn good for a first run, and it was very, very popular. Not everyone gets that. Still, there were issues with it. Writing issues, people pointing out that Gege forgets his own power system and all that kind of stuff. And everyone can have their opinion. I really loved JJK season 1, watched it several times and recommended it to friends, but season 2 broke me. I didn't like it, became the start like it from the start and grew to hate it the further it went. I know 90% of people loved it, but it went against everything. Why I even started to like that series. Actually, I felt betrayed by it, and I don't even care anymore how it continues / ends. A lot of people have felt betrayed by, well, the beginning and end of that whole series. Because it did what it did, offing major characters like that was a bold idea. I've had this conversation with people I've talked to before about like the importance of death and stuff in fiction and yada yada yada, and how those things can be like majorly important events. I think some of that is necessary in Jujutsu Kaisen, especially as it lays out that the world of sorcery is a very rough place to make a living, and that people die all the time. I feel like that much is necessary, and the Shibuya incident sort of filled that idea out. Although, looking back on it, honestly, I don't know if that was the best way to go about handling all of that. But I'm not going to go out and try and fix a series that has made its creator depressed because they feel like they could have done better. I feel like that would just be an insulting thing to do at this point. It's not like he intentionally went out to insult his fans like a series like Ruby did, where it kind of just deviated entirely from what made it popular and likable to begin with. The character writing is not as strong as Dandadan, but I feel like the action, but I did like the action and setting overall. JJK is okay. Look, now that I've had some distance from it and read and watched a lot more, I would actually agree with that. Like, I liked the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen, and I had hoped that proceeding forward, we'd get better development of the characters, but they either just off them or don't do anything with them. The Mechamaru was a great example. Because it was like, what offing major characters like that was a bold idea. I knew he wouldn't make the villain win till the fighting continued. Oh, so like the idea of like, okay. I feel like in some cases you can kill off your main cast if the character has like served their purpose. It's like killing Sakura at the start of Shippuden. I mean, even then there could still be some like there still could be a reason for that. But I would agree that would just killing Nami at Eni's lobby just in that just to get a new navigator. Well, even then, like One Piece isn't a series where death is constantly prevalent. One Piece, I mean, Oda has kind of made a series that he wanted to be silly and fun, and overpopulating it with deaths would kind of go against that whole theme that he's got going on. So yeah, it's hard to sit here and talk like definitively about like what series should or shouldn't have certain things because it's really a case by case sort of thing. I feel like JJK's high death toll fits the series. Same with Chainsaw Man, specifically because they're series in which the brutality is part of the world. Same with like Attack on Titan. But if you tried to do it with I don't know, One Piece or Dandadan, it wouldn't work. Yeah, there's massive issues with like the way moves and stuff were telegraphed throughout the series. I mean, people were predicting the Nobara thing for a while, but it was almost never mentioned right up until it happened. That was one of the major issues people had with the ending. Also, it kind of felt like again, we're getting into the nuances of writing. This is what I'm talking about. Case by case, you can make the argument as to whether it is a good thing or not that the characters were killed off. It really boils down to personal taste. I honestly, if I were in control of the series, I would have kept Nobara around because I liked her character and her powers. I thought she added something to the story. Her death, I see what Gege was trying to do with it. But yeah, I don't know. I liked the character more than I liked what they did with her death. Anyway, there is one more controversy that I do want to talk about. If I can find it. me go to the page. See if I can. Okay, so here we go. So yeah, okay. I respect that. You don't like it. I don't particularly like it either. I don't think it destroyed the series for me. But again, you and I had rarely agree on much. And that's okay. I would prefer to be surrounded with people who want to fight me tooth and nail on everything and actually make me think about the things I say than just act as yes men. But anyway, Sakamoto Days is coming out this season. Very, very highly anticipated anime. And its intro has just been released ahead of its first episode, and people don't like it. Tab over and actually share this because I clicked the wrong button earlier. So let's go here and bring this up. So people don't like this Sakamoto Days intro. By the way, can everyone hear that okay? I just need to be sure because I generally have my audio high in here, but it's not as loud. So, like, I actually like this intro, like, all the way through. And the more I listen to it, the more I appreciate about it. The big thing people are, I think, are complaining about is that it doesn't have, quote unquote, enough aura. Like here, barely move. I'm honestly surprised how bad this was. It looks so mediocre. I guess it looks like most people are talking about the actual like animation of it. To be fair, the art design and what animation they're doing looks like the basis for a good show in this. And what I will say is that an intro's animation is never, ever 100% reflective of the quality of the show. Okay? I have seen some really well animated shows with terrible intros or with terribly animated intros, and some really poorly animated shows with amazingly animated intros. I would rather them sink their time. I'm actually in this boat too. I thought it was just an okay manga. I'm going to check it out to see if the anime is worth watching, because it seems like the kind of show that I would probably prefer to watch rather than read. But yeah, as far as this goes, I would rather see the studio behind this devote their resources to making the actual anime itself good than the intro look good. Because ultimately, the intro being good is kind of inconsequential. When it comes to intros, I'm usually listening to the music. If it's not a good song, it can help hype, but the song is where it's at. Well, for me, most of the hype actually comes from the music. It's like why I love rolling into any episode of Dandadan. You get the intro for it, and then yeah. Or how about this one, Shangri-La Frontier? You know, like the first 3 intros for Shangri-La Frontier have been bangers. And like you get fucking hyped up, and then the episode is good, or like you have some like epic boss fight going on. I like this song. And as far as like the series goes, from what I've read of it, it pretty much captures the vibe of it. I don't think there's anything wrong with this as an intro. And again, a lot of people are complaining about the animation. Let's see what that he sees everything. Horrible. I'm scared of how the anime will turn out. Frames. this kind of bland. Yeah, that may be part of the streaming. Part of the streaming part of it. Readout. Yes, you have arrived fashionably late. But yeah, I like the song, and I also am a little bit biased because I do like Voundy. He did Chainsaw Blood and the second intro for Ranking of Kings. That's the name of it. I love both of those songs, especially the one for Ranking of Kings. Interesting. Well, and this is where my taste in music comes in, because I wasn't too like terribly into the Kaiju number 8 intro, and I was not a fan of the outro, but it did help with the series. I would agree with that. I think Kaiju number 8's intro did help with the series. Or like Bleach's intros. I have liked Thousand Year Blood Wars intros, and they've been good at like rolling up the hype as you go into an episode. Yeah. Picky ass motherfuckers, yeah. It kind of feels like it. This is why I generally try not to be like too focused on like finding things I don't like or whatever, because then you end up like this. I try to keep it specifically to things like I actually just don't care for. And sometimes I can't explain them, even though I usually try to have a reason for them. Let's take that down. The issue I think a lot of people are having is they're comparing it to the Solo Leveling intro. Let's bring this up. And this is another one that I actually really fucking liked. Like, look, I'm gonna be honest. Solo Leveling's first intro was kind of mid, but this one, freaking love this one. Lisa doing two really good intros here. She did Queen for the second season of Shangri-La Frontier, and I know she's done more. Like, don't be like, how dare you not mention Gorenje and all that kind of stuff. I know she's done a lot more, but recently here, getting Solo Leveling and Shangri-La Frontier, really good intros.
I give back the light, it gave me what I please. You guys know you are all.
So this is pretty much what Shangri-La Frontier is getting compared to when it comes to like the animation and all that stuff. But let's compare the two series. From what I understand, Sakamoto Days or did I say Shangri-La Frontier? I think the new episode was better than the entirety of season 1. Huh. Interesting. But no, as far as Sakamoto Days, this is the one thing that it's getting compared to, and I feel like that's kind of unfair because Solo Leveling is a series that survives solely on animation. Like, the story is like, well, I actually talked about it earlier in the series, in the show. The story is serviceable, but not amazing. The fights and the animation are great. So yeah, probably will end up adding both of those. Actually, I should do it like immediately. Add both of those to my friggin' playlists. Yeah, I think that's just about everything that I had to talk about. There's nothing wrong with a good power fantasy. I still enjoy Solo Leveling. Like, it's a fun show to watch. It's just, is it my favorite? Will I say it's some like masterpiece? No. It's a fun power fantasy. And if that's all it ever tries to be, then good. It's enjoyable that way. Keep doing the same thing that works, okay? I don't go to it for some like deep like character study or to have some sort of like intensive meaning to it. It's mirth. It's temporary happiness. It's flashy lights and cool fights. But yeah, I think that is all of my small topics. So there is... Do you like the redhead or the blonde chick more? The redhead is maybe more of an interesting character to me. Right out the gate, I would say I liked the redhead more. Or just on their initial impressions. But as time has gone on, I've been more interested in the blonde chick, and maybe that's just my general inclinations. As far as like whose personality I enjoy more, it is more my type, I should say. It was the redheaded chick. But as far as like a character who has had better development just for the fact that they've been in the series for a little bit longer and had more like actual focus on them, blonde chick. But yeah, there are some things here at the end I do want to talk about going into the new year. I'm trying to grow the channel. I want to help her. I'm trying to grow my channel, and by in doing so, that means I have to like actually make like content that people are going to actually watch. So I'm going to continue doing like the Overlord is the best isekai there has ever been. Talked about a lot. It's far superior to Mushoku Tensei and Re:Zero. I think it's a good series. I don't think it's better than either of those two, but again, that's another thing that comes down to personal taste. It comes down to what you're actually looking for, and I also have the bias of personal reasons for liking Re:Zero. But I know that about you. Anyway, channel updates. So I'm going to continue doing the I'm going to continue doing like the weekly recaps and stuff for anime and all that on Mondays. Wednesdays, I don't quite know what I'm going to do yet. We'll probably like make short videos talking about anime or maybe some major event or whatever. And then Fridays, I'm going to try and do like regular video essays. And then obviously we have Saturdays, I do the stream. So that's what I'm looking to do. And I have a pretty big project. I kind of mentioned it earlier. And that is kind of what I want to close out the night with. Is talking a little bit about this upcoming project, because there has been a lot of controversy regarding Mushoku Tensei lately, specifically with people like Light Novel Historian going out and saying their rather interesting opinions on this. So I decided I was just going to go full autistic on this and do a very, very detailed breakdown of of basically my quote unquote trial of Rudeus Gray. And unfortunately, I don't have like a full like video whipped up for this. But I did go out and make a little bit of a preview that I will make like officially live after this. And going forward, I'm hoping to be able to get one part out a week over the next 3 weeks until I'm ultimately able to, just like with A Tale of Two Protagonists, put out the whole video all in one go. So I'm going to end with a little bit of my first time making a trailer, so it's kind of rough, but whatever. There are plenty of people who still cling to the idea that he's the worst character ever and that he's responsible for some downright awful stuff. We'll have to talk about Rudy's connection to his past life, as well as what we as a society generally use as a metric for what we consider an adult. But more than that, this 40-year-old man in a 6-year-old body sounds awfully familiar, don't it? If you are the type of person who finds things uncomfortable and will automatically assume that I'm supporting them by analyzing them in detail and being objective about something, then please, this video isn't for you. Jobless reincarnation. So that is effectively the next major project that I'm doing for the channel. Is another one of the like big breakdowns of all things jobless reincarnation. I did a couple of videos on ReZero last year, so now I'm getting back to talking about that, and specifically, like I mentioned, all of the nastier allegations regarding Rudy, and why in particular I think most of them are bunk. There are some things that Rudy's actually guilty of, and I get into that in the video. And that is like the point of his character, yada yada. But I'm hoping that this will be another fun project to make. I've enjoyed it. I was bashing my head against a wall trying to make this script. At one point, it was 15 pages, teetering on being longer. But I ended up cutting back on it because I had a bunch of gobbledygook language in there, and that was what was causing me all the problems. But it is recorded now. I have cut a lot of the audio down and edited it, and hopefully, going forward, this video is well received. Again, that trailer will be live after this stream. that trailer will be something I'll put out live after the stream, share to like Twitter and around spaces and all that stuff. Next week, I'm hoping to have the first part of the video done, talking about some of the things that were mentioned about like some of the specific preliminary details that we do need to cover when talking about the subjects regarding the character. But that'll have to be for next week. So this upcoming week, what you can look forward to from me is the video about this week's anime and everything that I watched. There will probably be more there than what I put into tonight's categorizations because I can be scripted with it and I'll have a little bit more time to watch that stuff. Wednesday, I am going to be doing a bit of a breakdown on Tokyo Ghoul because I have finished that. So this month's Fictionology will most likely be Tokyo Ghoul, and that's going to depend on a couple of the other people who have done Fictionology with me and whether or not they can get around to tagging in on it. And then Friday, like I said, first part of the trial of Rudeus Greyrat. Other than that, you can follow me on Twitter, by the way, at Crimson Lawson, where I scream into the void and talk stupid shit all the time. And generally, you can find me on other people's channels. Like sometimes I'll show up on the Rollo Romecast, other times over at the Questioners, and lately on Biggles Mets anime streams. That said, I appreciate everyone who joined in, listened, commented, participated. I appreciate every single one of you. And I would like it if you went and hit that like button and give a subscribe if you aren't already. So let's wrap this up. Good night, and may you have a great new year.